How's it going, everyone? It's Daikin here, bringing you another DNF Duel video, and today we're going to be going over every buff, debuff, and passive within the game. I'll be breaking them down and explaining exactly what you need to be looking for when it comes to seeing these icons. Now, of course, this game is based off of MMO, so they wanted to put a little bit of that MMO flavor within this game by showcasing some of these buffs, debuffs, and passives that we're going to go over. So we're going to start off with Berserker. So a lot of characters in this game get their buffs or inflict their debuffs when they are in awakening state, which is when your health is at 30% or lower. But there are a few manual buffs or just passives that some characters can just manually put on or just happen from certain moves. So we're going to talk about those as well. So Berserker has a passive, which you could tell passives with the yellow icon, then buffs will be blue and the debuffs will be red. So this passive, Frenzy, does a few things for Berserker. One, it gradually turns his life into gray life. As you can see, his health is slowly draining up there, but as this is happening, he's also gaining that meter, because as your health go down, you get more meter in this game. On top of this, he becomes much faster. So we see his normal run speed right now, and his jump art is not really crazy, but if we put this on, you can see he is zooming. Like, look how much faster he is, look how higher his jump arc is, and like how much further he like sort of takes up the space in the air. He's all over the place, and it changes his normals as well. So he gets more mobility and it changes up his normals. So now he does like these double strikes like this now, or this becomes like this with his AA. His 2B is like this, is double swipe. He gets this for his 5B. Like his normals change a lot when it comes to this, as well as his special moves just getting more properties. So this like does more damage and like lasts longer. His command grab does more damage. It probably steals more life too as well. And just, yeah, mainly a lot of his special moves just change properties when he's inside of Frenzy as well. But because he's actually utilizing this gray life, because he's getting gray life, he can also utilize conversion very easily on top of this. So if he's doing block strings, he can use conversion very easily because of stuff like that. So he is one of the characters that got very easy access to conversion, which is going to help him not only create better pressure, but also create mix-up situations for himself, because of the ability to use conversion at any point whenever he wants to. He can just let it rock. Now, one thing also to know inside of Frenzy is there's a couple ways you get out of it. One, you use a meter spin move, so MP skill. So any MP skill would do it, or using conversion will do it as well, or simply just getting hit will actually knock you out of it as well. So those are the three main ways that you actually get out of this state. So Berserker's awakening super is going to be Thirst, which basically allows him to gain his life back when he actually inflicts damage on the opponent. So you can see, just doing his basic combo right here, he actually gains life back for just doing this, as you can see. So this is something that is built inside of his kit when he gets below 30% HP. However, if he goes above 30%, which I am right here, you see that he still has his passive. So this is something that he can just keep utilizing until the round ends, or he actually does his awakening super. Because once again, once you use your awakening super, you actually lose your passive. So Vanguard awakening passive is Demonic Lance Mastery. So his passive actually makes it to where he does more guard damage when he is in awakening compared to when he's not in awakening. So just to compare the two, if we take this block string right here with if we do like 5 skill into that right there, you see it takes about like a bar and a little bit more than this, slightly a bar. However, we have him in awakening and do the same combo. As you can see, that took about 2 bars of the actual guard bar before it actually ended. So he's doing about almost 2 times as much guard damage to the opponent now when he is in awakening. So definitely a huge buff to him when he has this, and it becomes very scary because he can just do stuff like this, stay at a good range and just chip away at the opponent and make sure that they get guard broken with the range that he is able to cover, because he has some really big buttons. So this is definitely going to be something that's help him once he gets into that awakening state. Striker's awakening passive is going to be Power Fist, which is basically going to increase her overall damage and minimum damage. So we take a combo like this. That did 296 damage. Now we do the same combo without the actual buff. As you can see, that actually did 270 damage. So she actually does get a huge damage increase when she is actually in awakening. And this makes it to where she's very scared, because she could 2-touch, or even potentially with the right hit actually touch to death quite a few characters within the cast. Grappler's awakening skill is also going to be pretty simple. It is going to be Iron Physique. So this is going to decrease the amount of white damage that he receives upon guarding. So this is only going to do it upon guarding, not when he actually gets hit. This is what it normally looks like if he actually takes the white damage. As you can see, it's quite a huge chunk of how much white damage you actually get from just a simple block string like this from Striker. Now let's compare that to what it actually looks like when he has his passive up. As you can see, this actually does a considerable amount less. So this is just another way for him not to basically get chipped out to death when it comes to actually losing a lot of life due to actual gray life. This is not going to happen to him as much. So this is going to allow him apparently to get a chance to get back in and sort of close the game out. So Ranger's awakening passive is going to be sudden death, and this is going to allow him from any hit put 3 debuffs on the opponent, and this is going to be reduce MP regen. This is going to reduce defense and reduce attack. So not only is the opponent going to do less damage, but they're also going to take more damage and are going to get less meter regen. And of course, you know, as far as your meter regen when you do special moves and stuff like that, your meter regens, but it's going to be much slower because of the debuffs. Now the debuffs only last for a while, but as long as you keep hitting your opponent, you basically just keep refreshing it. So this is something that you can constantly just keep on your opponent, and you're going to do more damage, they're going to do less damage, and they're not going to build as much meter as quickly. So Launcher's awakening passive is Overheat, which is the direct opposite of Grappler's, which is going to increase the amount of white damage that she does to a guarding opponent. So naturally her white damage is okay, but it is greatly increased when she is in it. So this is what it looks like now. As you can see, moves like this just do huge chunks of white life, and if you hit the opponent, all that life is gone. All that life that they can recover, what you see is recovering, will be gone with this just 1 MP attack. So if you actually hit them with one of these, all of that is now gone. So that is a very scary situation to deal with when you're dealing with this character. And just to showcase what it looked like normally, this is what her normal chip damage actually looks like. So as you see, not nearly as much. Like last time I did literally like almost like, yeah, a little bit more than half their life with this, and this time it did like probably like 1/4. So definitely a lot more chip damage when she is under or at 30% HP. So Inquisitor actually has a debuff outside of her awakening skill, which is going to be this Vow Toss right here. So she puts this liquid on top of you, and this liquid is flammable. So if you actually hit the opponent with any type of flame attack that she got, which she got a couple, which is going to be like this one right here, or the flame wheel, or any of those attacks, this will inflict a little bit of extra damage as well as popping them up in the air. So it's going to be basically like burn damage. So just to showcase what this looks like, naturally if you hit with this, it just sort of does a little bit of damage, as you can see. But if they have the flask on the debuff and you hit them with it, not only is it going to pop them up in the air, but you can see that they're taking a little bit more continuous damage after the initial hit. This is the burn damage that we're talking about. But a little bit of burn damage happening, which this definitely adds up. So if we take this with the pinwheel in mind, do the natural pinwheel, you see it does a decent amount of damage. It does some pretty good damage overall. But if we have the flask on them, not only do they get popped up, but the damage amount is definitely a lot better. So you're going to get a better combo, and you're going to get just more damage because of the burn damage that is happening to them. So Inquisitor awakening skill is called Cold-Hearted Inquisitor. So this basically allows her to get super MP regen. So the MP regen basically starts like immediately. As you can see, as soon as I throw this flask, it is already just starting again. Like it's just immediate. This basically makes it to where you do not have to use the manual inputs. Like I'm using the manual inputs right here, but if I don't do it, it still starts like immediately. So it basically takes out the use of needing to use manual inputs for this character once you have 30%, because it's about the same rate. So she definitely gets a huge buff when it comes to her MP regeneration, as you can see when it comes to her awakening skill. Okay, so Crusader is a wild one. So first off the bat, Grace Elimindeos. We got to talk about this move. So right off the bat, you get 1 hit of armor for the entire duration. So just showcase that. It's just 1 hit. So if I hit it once and then you hit it again, the next hit, it just won't have armor no more. So 1 hit of armor, next hit is going. It's very weird how it's like that. You would think it's like just consecutive hits, like it could take 1 consecutive hit for like each block screen you try, but it's just 1 hit of armor for the entire duration. So that's the first thing about it. Next thing, it creates these like lightning strikes for your moves. So all your attacks, your hammer moves gets like these lightning strikes on them, which I'm pretty sure probably changed the frame rate a little bit. You get some pretty neat combos with these as well. But you also get access to 2 new moves. So the first one is the disco ball. So this light comes out and then all of a sudden these giant lasers come out and you get all this damage happening right there. As you can see, pops them up in the air. You can combo off of it. Very, very cool. The next thing is going to be his ender. So you see a lot of times where you do stuff like this and then you end with this like giant strike. And this giant strike is going to actually put a debuff on the opponent, which is paralysis. So if I switch to the character, I can't jump. I can move, but I can't jump until it's going. So you cannot jump. You can walk forward, you could like go forward and stuff, but you cannot jump until it's actually off of you. So if you want to maneuver and take to the skies, you just can't do that. But you can still move around. You just cannot jump. It just takes away your jumping. That is the debuff that this actually applies to you. So I actually didn't know that was a thing, but that is pretty cool. On top of all of this, his awakening skill is Merciful Strength, which gives him 3 buffs. So it actually increases his overall defense. It increases his actual white life recovery, and it increases his actual guard break resistance. So he is harder to guard break. He gains his white life back quicker, and he's just harder to kill because he has more defense now. So on top of all the things that come with this move and the debuffs and, you know, the crazy disco ball and the hit of armor, he also got access to this when he's in Awakening. So he is definitely a very stacked character. So Swiftmaster Awakening passive is pretty straightforward. It's called Windmaster. He basically gets increased movement speed all around. So this is his base movement speed right here. This is his backdash and his forward dash. This is how it mainly is right off the bat. So not too crazy, but if we put him in Awakening, all of a sudden this character is moving. Like this backdash, or all of a sudden this character is moving. Like this back walk speed and this forward walk speed is really fast, and his backdash and forward dash actually becomes much faster too. So he definitely just gets a huge mobility boost in his toolkit when it comes to his actual movement, and that is basically his passive. So Enchantress is a funny one. So she has a command grab that turns you into like a little like doll, and when you're in this doll, you can't block, you cannot run, and you can only attack with the A button. So just to showcase a little bit more of this, so you can only jump like this. This is the only attack you got. You can't run, you can't dodge, and you can't block. So yeah, this is something that they really gave her. I don't really know exactly how this will end up being, but if she's plus off of this in the corner, this could be some really devastating stuff. Because I mean, what do she just get to take her turn and like just combo you? Like, how does this work? But anyway, you just turn into a doll and you only get like 1 attack. If you hit her, you're still inside the doll form, so you still have to like just try to defend her off as best you can. I mean, you can't block, so you might as well just start mashing the A button or jumping, I guess. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny, and that is one of her debuffs. Now, if you don't know, Enchantress is basically a puppet character. So when you press her MS button, her skill button, then this actually allows you to control the puppet separate from her. As you can see, this is very similar to how you would control like say like Zato or something like that. So as you can see, it actually drains her meter at the top. So it is draining quite fast. You can see it's definitely draining quite fast, but her actual Awakening passive make it actually drain much slower. So just to showcase what it looks like now, as you can see, it is definitely going down much slower, so you have much time to set up positioning or just use moves while you're inside of this. Now, of course, the moves will take chunks, but you can just stay inside of this a little bit longer than what you would naturally be able to without the actual Awakening passive. So Kunoichi also has a unique effect outside of Awakening mode, which is going to be this sort of seal she puts on the opponent. So you can see it still comes on the opponent, and then it sort of explodes over time, just like that. Now this explosion go off, and when it go off, it could do damage. So it'll do damage if it'll pop them up in the air. So if they're already in like hit stun, say something, then they'll pop up in the air like that. Or if they block it, then it'll also just do some damage, but it'll just make sure that the opponent is just still scared to press anything during that. Now there's a couple of things along with this that you should know. When she actually does this, she still has the mark on there if she is blocking, so it doesn't go away on block. However, if you're able to hit her, then you can actually get rid of it. So if you hit her, it will go away before it explodes. So you do have that to get away with it, and that way you don't have to take the explosion. So it's not guaranteed. If you're able to hit her, you can get rid of it before it actually explodes. So Kunoichi's awakening passive is going to be ninjutsu, which is going to reduce the startup of her actual ninjutsu moves and is going to reduce the MP cost. So for example, we take this tornado right here, you'll see it takes 100 if you do it normally. However, a lot of these have charge versions that you could do as well. So we charge the tornado, it takes 105, it lasts for much longer, but the startup is definitely a lot longer. So let's compare that to the actual awakening version. So the base version before was taking 100 meter, now it's taking only 90 meter, and of course it starts up way faster, as you can see. So we do the charge version, this will also start up much faster. As you can see, it starts up much faster right there, and we had 120 meter left over right there. So rather than taking 95, it only took 80. So this is definitely going to be good for her late grind game when she's trying to get out as many ninjutsus on the screen as possible, and it's going to allow her to use less MP while also getting the charge versions out faster. So things are just going to last on the screen much longer, and it's going to allow her to go for more setups and stuff like that. So Ghostblade's Awakening Super is Phantasmal Benity, which is also just going to be a damage buff. So we take this basic combo from Ghostblade here. We see that it does 221 damage. However, within the Awakening, it does 243 damage. So definitely a big difference in the damage there. And of course, as you do a full-on combo, this damage will surely increase and give him the upper edge as far as coming back. So Hitman's Awakening passive is going to be Battle Command, which allows him to gain access to his Shattering Strike. So now after any MP move, he can spend an additional 10 MP to get a new move to come out, which is this triple hitting attack that crumbles the opponent. So this is going to be something that's going to be good for you actually extending your combos for very easy pickups, and it can even make certain things like say his DP even safe because of the additional follow-up. So you just spend that extra 10 if you got it and make his DP even a bit safer than say what it was before with this sort of distance. So you can definitely mess around with that and definitely get combo extensions or just make certain things safe and stuff like that. So Troubleshooter outside of Awakening actually have sort of a buff he could give himself, which is going to be this refreshment he can do. So this is actually going to increase his damage while also giving him gray life. So he's going to have access to conversion ability, so he can go for like conversion stuff if he wants. He can use that, you know, sacrifice a little bit of life to actually go for some conversion mix-ups, or he can actually use this to refill some of his meter back as well, because when you actually do this drink, not only does it give you that sort of damage buff, but you get to gain meter. So if I do it like this, say I spend some meter like this, and then I drink, bam, it refills your meter. As you see, you get a little bit of refill in meter. It look like about 20 meter you get a refill of, and you can use that as well. To just showcase the damage buff a little bit, so this attack does 80 damage, but with the drink buff on, it does 104. So he gets a pretty decent damage buff for sure, on top of having the ability to use conversion at that point and just getting more meter at that point as well. So Troubleshooter's Awakening skill, Handle Explosives, is going to do a few things. One is going to increase the knockback on certain moves, so he's going to be able to follow up much easier, and it's going to do a lot more guard break and chip damage to opponents when they actually block his MP attacks. So all his MP attacks are now going to do more chip and more guard break damage, and they're going to have certain ones that just do more knock up. So this one knocks up the opponent a lot more. You see I run up and pick it up for a combo. However, if I take it outside of Awakening, notice how they don't go up as high and it's harder to pick it up for a combo. So this increased knockback is going to help with your combo extensions, and it's just going to help with his overall guard break and sort of chip damage potential all around on his MP moves. Dragon Knight's passive is going to be called Dragon's Wrath, which is basically just going to be an MP buff once again. So her MP just regenerates really fast off of once you do her MP moves, and she gains, I guess, more MP faster when she does her basic attacks and stuff too. So overall, she just gets more access to her MP, so she can start using her dragon friend a little bit more. And last but not least is Lost Warriors. So he has a unique passive of being able to time stop the opponent after 5 uses of his MP attacks on hit on the opponent. So see, we do 1 right there, there's 1, we got 1 stack, then we got 2, so we need 3 more, and once we get 3 more, we will enter his time stop mode, which is like the big gimmick of this character. So there we go, and then 1 more right here, and then there you go, you're inside of his time stop mode, and he basically just gets to go ham and do whatever he wants. Lost Warrior's Awakening skill is going to be Logic of the Dimensions, which is going to increase the duration of his actual time stop, and is going to make it to where some of his MP moves do just different, they have different properties on them or something. Like I believe they like launch higher, or he can act quicker out of them, like get easier pickups for combos. But this is the duration stint of it, so you can just go a lot more ham and just press a lot more buttons. You got plenty of time to just do whatever you want when that happens. The other thing I'm talking about is this. So if I press like his standing MP button, you can see he has time to actually attack afterwards now with certain attacks like this. However, we go outside of the awakening, being able to get the standing B just doesn't happen outside of awakening because it doesn't launch as high. And same with this one just doesn't launch in the same way, so you don't like recover in time. You can't really get that attack either. So he just has different properties on his MP moves, as well as having the extended duration on his actual time stop. And that pretty much covers all the buffs, debuffs, and passive skills you need to know within the game. As always, you like anything I had to say, drop me a like, I greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, follow me on my socials. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn notifications so you know the next video goes live. As always, my name is Dyken, and I'll see you next time. Signing out.